much as we are told that he has a law degree, the truth of the matter is that he has not practiced. Having a law degree and not practicing is in legal terms means totally a different story. Such person cannot handle a matter of this serious magnitude, such as undertaking 22 changes to the constitution of Zimbabwe in what is commonly known as Bill number 3 of 2026, which seeks to amend the constitution, not only extending the term of office for Emmerson Mnangagwa, but tampering around with a number of constitutional statutes. Equally so, Professor Jonathan Moyo is not he did not finish his law degree. At the time there was succession issues in ZANU-PF, he was still studying his law with the University of Zimbabwe up until he ran for his dear life to Kenya. I don't know whether for the past years he has been studying a law degree, but the last time I checked, Professor Jonathan Moyo was still an undergraduate, and this is the person who is advising Emmerson Mnangagwa to mutilate the constitution, and he is taking these people seriously. Where is this country heading to? Today, Ziyambi Ziyambi made a presentation similar to Professor Jonathan Moyo. I will actually be playing some snippets, the sound of those snippets. Greetings and welcome to your lovely channel, the Hlonipani Global News. If you're watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. Let me just play you the snippets of the audios, rather, of the presentation of Ziyambi Ziyambi. I'll start with the first snippets.
Yes.
Let me just start it from
91 subsection. Notably, amendments to term limit provisions do not intrinsically require referendums, as section 91 subsection 2 endures unaltered, while section 95 subsection 2b and 143 subsection 1 are exempt as election cycles. So these ones are election cycles, the ones that we are amending. We are not touching term limit provisions. We are dealing with electoral cycle provisions, not one that are specific to an individual.
This is the first snippet.
A staggering toll. Such maladies have exerted a staggering toll, with estimates from authoritative bodies like the World Bank, IMF, Africa Union, and SADC chronicling a loss of US 150 to 200 billion in unrealized potential between the year 2000 and 2023. It is imperative that we confront and correct this legacy of stagnation with bold, decisive action.
Okay.
Resolutely oriented towards future generations, or unequivocally.
Let me start afresh. I'm trying to.
Vocally in service to the supreme national interest. The bill stands as a cohesive, meticulously evidence-based antidote to the entrenched governance impediments that have afflicted Zimbabwe for over 3 decades. Critically informed by judicial precedents, resonant societal aspirations, and illuminating comparative experiences across Africa.
So, the debate that is currently, ZANU-PF wants to treat the people of Zimbabwe as if they are children. They say they are not touching the clause which deals with actually term limits. They say they are actually dealing with the clause that are confined to actually extending the term of office for Emerson Dambudzo Mnangagwa. But these clauses they affect, if you look at them, they affect the term limits that were set. Now, if we are to argue that 2 terms in the Constitution of 2013, it simply meant 10 years, 2 terms. Now, they are increasing the time within a certain term, definitely affects the time that was set for 2 terms. When Zimbabwe say 2 terms, they specifically meant not more than 10 years. They did not mean that, I mean, it should just be 2 terms without specific years. That's why they said 5 years. They were emphatic that they don't want a president who will stay for more than 10 years. And a term should just be 5 years each, not more than that. This is what the 2013 Constitution says. So now, if you add more years to a second term, that the Mnangagwa is actually seeking to do, you are in fact tampering. You are tampering with what Zimbabweans said they want. And now, to tamper with that, what you need to do, you need to go to the people of Zimbabwe again and actually ask them, because this is a government that was given a mandate of just 5, in 2023, they were given a contract of 5 years. Now, just imagine, look at the bias of this. The very same people who are given a contract of 5 years, now when they are enjoying that contract. In fact, I want to quote everything that Ziyambi Ziyambi said. That is why you saw me. You saw me actually looking down here. I was searching for the story. Now it says this. The written version. It says the Constitution of Zimbabwe Amendment Bill number 3 seeks to extend the duration of election cycles and not term limits. And this is what Professor Jonathan Moyo said yesterday in the interview. And doing so does not require a referendum. Justice, Legal and Parliamentary Affairs Minister Ziyambi Ziyambi has said. Speaking during an interactive meeting with journalists aimed at unpacking the bill in Harare yesterday, Minister Ziyambi said, Section 91(2) and 328 of the Constitution, which deal with the presidential term limits, remain intact, and any amendment to them would duly require a referendum. He said the present bill only seeks to amend Section 95 of the Constitution and other clauses that relate to election cycles and not term limits, which does not require a referendum. But you cannot say, you cannot disassociate Section 95 from term limits, because that is where it is clear that the president, as well as the life of a parliament, is 5 years. And to me, that is a term limit. I wonder why these lawyers would not actually practice law without experience, will actually seek to deceive all Zimbabweans, and also seek to actually just imagine you are taught by someone who hasn't even finished his law degree. That person is telling you about law. What does he know? He hasn't finished his law degree. The other one did not even practice law degree, which means somehow he understood that he is incapable of doing so. That is why he is making himself to be vulnerable to Professor Jonathan Moyo. Now, he said the present bill only seeks to amend Section 95 of the Constitution and other clauses that relate to election cycle and not term limits, which does not require a referendum. He is lying. They are lying that Section 95 does not require a referendum because it deals with term limits. That's where it is specified that elections, okay, are done after every 5 years. So now if we are changing and saying now that section is complementary to section 91 91.2 that they are actually talking about, because in order to actually make sense of section 91.2, you have also to read section 95 of the Constitution. That is what qualifies the other section. And what they are trying to defend here, it is, it's like someone, in our language, they say you hide through a finger, thinking that the other person cannot see you. So he continues to say, in this constitution, terms of office are 5 years, and contemporaneous in this terms of term of office are 5 years, and contemporaneous with the life of parliament. The bill elongates the electoral cycle from 5 to 7 years. Now, you know, it is clearly documented on the Constitution. In this Constitution, terms of office are 5 years. Terms of office for who? For Mnangagwa as well as also the parliament. Now, if you are removing this clause and then you say it is not related to term limits, where do we get the term limits? From the Constitution. We are getting these term limits from section 95. 91 is not clear about the term limits, but section 95 clarifies, explains, expand from section, expands what has been started in section 91.2. So it's really mind-boggling, because that is where we get, that is where it is clarified in even the Constitutional Court, by the way, in their ruling. They indicated that this section that we are talking about, it deals with term limits. I don't know what then ZANU-PF is trying to do, or thinking that in a country like Zimbabwe with people who are educated, I don't know what they are trying to do. So he continues to say, in this constitution, terms of office are 5 years, contemporaneous with the life of parliament. This is what they want to remove. And now he goes on to say, that's all it's doing, to elongate the election cycle from 5 to 7 years. For even that, you know, I remember I was looking at when they were actually creating the Constitution of 2013. They were going around the communities, and I saw the clip which was clarifying, saying that an individual, where they derived this clause, people were speaking unambiguously, that we don't want a president who will actually be a life president. A president should be given 5 years each, not more than 10. That is what Zimbabweans were saying in 2013. Now to say you are coming to now elongate, stretch the term of office to 7 years, definitely you are now reversing what people said when the Constitution was being crafted. And in that regard, it cannot, this section cannot be actually taken out without going through a referendum, because it has something to do with the length one serves as a president. It tempers with that. So he goes on to say section 91(2) reads as follows. A person is qualified for election as president or appointed as vice president if he or she has already held office as president under the constitution for 2 terms, whether continuously or not, and for the purposes of this subsection 3 or more years service is deemed to be a full term. This one now complicates issues. 3, you don't have, if Mnangagwa, I wish this thing could be delayed after August, Mnangagwa would have served 3 years. And also the reason why they want to fast forward this now. That's why they started soon after 2023 elections. They are trying to beat section 912, which says a full term starts from 3 years and above. So by August this year, Mnangagwa would have served 3 years. So that's why they are trying to push the process fast, so that by August, Mnangagwa's mutilation of the constitution is actually a done deal. But in this section, if you read it completely, it is not specified. It is not specified how many years a president should actually serve. It is now complemented by the section 95 that they want to temper. You see, both this, there are numerous sections in the Zimbabwean Constitution of 2013 that speaks about the term of office of a president, and they complement each other. So they decided to go after that one, which specifies the term of office that runs contemporaneous with the term of office of the parliament for the president, which runs contemporaneous with that of the parliament. And now they are claiming that they have not violated what is written in section 912. Okay, he goes on to say, Minister Ziyambi said, this is what Professor Jonathan Moyo, if you listen to, I covered partly of what he was saying yesterday. If you listen to it, this is exactly what he is speaking. So we've got the whole minister influenced from Kenya, from a person sitting in a corner somewhere in Kenya. He says, Minister Ziyambi said in 2007, the government reduced the presidential election cycle from 6 to 5 years, so as to have it harmonized with the parliamentary election cycle, and no referendum was held. See, now let's look at the constitution they were tampering with. Did it come as a result of the people? That was a colonially arranged constitution. It was imposed to the people of Zimbabwe. And Ziyambi Ziyambi cannot use the Ian Smith constitution that was manipulated by Robert Gabriel Mugabe regime for several years as a constitution that comes from people. The very first constitution that was crafted by the people of Zimbabwe is the Constitution of 2013. That is the first constitution that you can accord it as a people-centered constitution. Otherwise, the other ones, they could temper them. We don't care about what he's saying they did in 2007. That was not the constitution from people. There is a difference between talking about the constitution that was actually written in Lancaster House and the constitution that came originally from the people of Zimbabwe. There was no need for them to actually conduct a referendum to change that constitution, because that constitution was foreign to the people of Zimbabwe. But this constitution is a Zimbabwean constitution, the very first Zimbabwean constitution. As such, changing it 22 times requires, definitely, if it's a sane person, it requires that person to go back to the people of Zimbabwe, not to do it on his own accord. So he continues to say, in essence, we elected to uphold the presidential term limit in its entirety, refrain from any alteration to Section 912 or any facets of Section 328, particularly subsection 7. This principle stance underscores our dedication to enduring democratic norms. Those are election cycles and not term limits. You see, now they are changing the words. They are saying that section deals with, section 95 deals with election cycles and not terms. While it specifies that the term of office of a president shall be 5 years. And then they say, no, it deals with election cycles. These people are fools. We are waiting to see what the judiciary system of Zimbabwe will do. I have no doubt the judgment, if Mnangagwa is allowed to be in power, would be written by actually Jonathan Moyo. So he goes on to say a full term is defined as 3 or more years. The presidential term limit is still there. We have just elongated the election cycle from 5 to 7 years. It is not specific to a person, but to the office of the president, said Ziyambi Ziyambi. You know, Mnangagwa was there when this constitution was being created. I'm thinking that he left section 912 like this for the purposes of actually, he knew that he was going to take over as the president. Let me read this and finish and not comment more. He goes on to say, he said referendums were in respect of chapter 4 of the constitution dealing with rights, chapter 16 on agricultural land and term limits, and section 95 deal with term limits also. Minister Ziyambi added that even if they were to extend term limits to 3 terms, that would not require a referendum, but would simply not benefit the incumbent president. He said the bill was also anchored on the binding judiciary wisdom of previously held cases and judgments, which delineates term length provisions such as age limits in section 186 of the Constitution or section 95, which were amenable to changes by 2/3 of Parliament. This distinction is not merely academic, it is the bedrock of constitutional integrity, said Minister Ziyambi. He said the provision to extend election cycle was also informed by the desire to achieve Vision 2030, which was affected by a 2-year COVID-19 induced stagnation. Ziyambi Ziyambi also said Section 95.2 explicitly entailed an election cycle, not a term limit. Listen to Section 952. In this light, Section 952 established as standard duration. They did not even quote Section 952, duration of the president, as an enduring institution, ensuring administrative continuity and rhythmic 5-year electoral cadence without imposing cumulative constraints on incumbents. This demarcation sharply distinguishes it from authentic term limits, which enforce inflexible caps with a specific beginning and a determinable end. He said, Minister Ziyambi said there had been a deluge of misinformation surrounding the bill, including baseless claims that it necessitates a national referendum as alleged term limit provision. The assertions are profoundly misguided and demand unequivocal repudiation. The Constitution Amendment architecture is lucidly prescribed in Section 328. Pivotal is Section 3286, which requires a referendum only for bills altering provisions in Chapter 4, Declaration of Rights, or Chapter 16, Agricultural Land. Section 328 extend these safeguards to Section 328 itself, equating it to Chapter 4, he said. Turning to the election of the president by Parliament, Ziyambi said it will insulate the office from divisive rancor while galvanizing national cohesion and revitalization Zimbabwe's democratic ethos. The election of the president by parliament has become the best international practice, as it happens in South Africa, Botswana, and even in Western jurisdiction. The perceived doyens of democracy, such as Britain, Germany, and the United States, direct election has been a cause of tension in most countries, judging by recent events in Mozambique and Tanzania, said the minister. Minister Ziyambi explained that the main objective of taking up arms liberation struggle was the restoration of the people's rights and land, and not universal suffrage of one man, one vote, as touted by some. So they were not going to the liberation struggle to fight for one man, one vote. Hey, this guy, I thought that maybe he does not only brush his teeth alone, he's also very, very dull. We went to war because the colonizer took our land, our rights, and we wanted to liberate ourselves from the colonizer so that we can govern and decide how we govern. He is speaking the language of Mnangagwa that he spoke during the meeting. Hence, from 1980 to 1990, we never had a direct presidential elections, he said. The very authors of one man, one vote or of elections doesn't have direct elections. In the United Kingdom, for instance, you vote for MPs and the majority party proposes a prime minister and the monarch approves it. In America, they have electoral colleges, and in Germany, they have indirect elections. Now, Ziyambi Ziyambi, I don't know whatever he is smoking. By the way, they say also he's trading with drugs in Zimbabwe, but that's another story for another day. I've dealt with it before. The truth of the matter here, you see, Mnangagwa is stubborn, and also, you know, Mnangagwa calculated this very well. That is why he removes Patrick Chinamasa. Patrick Chinamasa, at least he understands law better than Ziyambi Ziyambi. At least he did practice law, though we don't have the good records of him winning cases, but at least he was a practicing lawyer, unlike Ziyambi Ziyambi. Ziyambi Ziyambi is devoid of practicing law. Equally so, Professor Jonathan Moyo, whom he took this statement from him, most probably this statement was written, this actually statement was written by Professor Jonathan Moyo, not Ziyambi Ziyambi. And I think on the part of Jonathan Moyo, his intention is not actually to give Mnangagwa the third term. His intention is to put Mnangagwa in direct conflict with Zimbabweans, and he has successfully done so. And the purpose of Professor Jonathan Moyo is to avenge himself for what Mnangagwa did. That is in 2017. Thank you very much for watching us. If you are watching us for the very first time, please do remember to press the red or black subscribe button so that next time when we beam live, you become the very first one to watch us. You can financially support this channel by pressing the join button and be part of our members who are the heartbeat of this channel. You can equally do so by pressing the thanks button and send us stars. Let's meet on the other side of the live broadcast as I give you more. Oh, this was the